Good evening, everyone, and it's a pleasure for me to welcome you all for this week's weekly market update, a presentation of SC Securities. So, as usual, I'll start from the market performance and continue to talk about the economic highlights and also some insights from global market trends as well. So starting off with the stock market performance for this week. Market started another week but dived in a red pool, whereas during Monday and Tuesday's trading session, both the indices lost points to close negatively. So during Monday's trading session, SPI lost 199 points to close at 7,451.91, whereas S&P SL 20 index also lost 89 points to close at 2,381.09. So the same trend could have been witnessed during Tuesday's trading session, whereas SPI further declined 139 points to stand at 7,312.6, and S&P SL 20 index also lost 44 points to close at 2,336.4. So the said investor sentiment turned negative and to result this kind of a decline, and that was basically due to the looming economic woes, whereas recently government has declared its inability to import fuel for industrial and transportation activities with the shortage of forex. So we have to wait for some unforeseeable future to get the required fuel. So with that, the market investor sentiment turned negative. And when we look at the turnover levels for these 2 days, turnover reported a value of 1.4 billion during Monday's trading session, but that was declined to 815 million during Tuesday's trading session. So, but anyhow, for the 2 days, foreign purchases picked up over foreign sales to report net inflows. Anyhow, during Wednesday's trading session, market gained somewhat a turnaround to report an increase in both the indices. So as accordingly, SPI gained 53 points to close at 7,365.92, and the S&P SR 20 index also gained 13 points to close at 3,250.28. The turnaround was basically due to the IMF stock and the positive sentiment and the positive talks regarding finalizing the IMF deal. So that was the reason for the said pickup. During Wednesday's trading session, anyhow, turnover remained at a relatively lower level of 779 million, whereas foreign purchasers picked up to report a value of 43 million over 8 million worth of foreign sales. Then again, despite the positivity gained over IMF talks, which was not sustainable, market turned back to a red pool or negativity during Thursday's trading session, losing 23 points from SPI and 15 points from S&P SL 20 index. Foreign purchases and sales also report very low values compared to that of other days, and turnover level was also stated at a value of 785 million. However, during last Friday's trading session, market anyhow gained back, giving a fresh start to the second half of this year by gaining 115 points in SPI to close at 7,457.48, whereas S&P SL index also gained 45 points to close at 2,380.26. So for the week, the market managed to report a net foreign inflow of 74 million after a couple of outflows that we have witnessed. But anyhow, for the week, SPI lost by 2.53% and S&P SL 20 index also lost 3.64%. For the month ended June 2022, the SPI is said to have declined by over 8%. If we have a look at the Treasury yields, after a couple of sessions that yields were continued to decline, at the Treasury bill auction held this week, all the three yields gained up by over 100 basis points. So, as accordingly, the 3-month yield currently stated at 23.85%, 6-month yield at 24.4%, but 12-month yield was slightly lower to that of 6 months, but anyhow increased by over 180 basis points to report a yield of 23.84%. So the exchange rates, rupee managed to appreciate slightly over the four currencies here: the US dollars, Britain pounds, euro, and the Japanese yen. So looking at the economic highlights for this week, it was reported by the Census and Statistics Department of Sri Lanka that the GDP growth rate of the country was contracted by 1.6% in the first quarter of 2022. That was measured at constant prices. So, as of the constant prices, the GDP for the first quarter reported a value of 3,463.1 billion over 3,519.9 billion in the first quarter of 2021. But anyhow, looking at the GDP measured at current market prices, that witnessed an increase of 17.4%. That was basically due to the increase in market prices. So, looking at the sectorial contribution for the said GDP levels, agriculture contributed by 8.1%, industry sector contributed by 31.1%, and services sector contributed by 55.6%. Agriculture sector and industrial sector both recorded contractions for the first quarter, whereas agricultural sector contracted by 6.8% and industrial sector contracted by 4.7%. The said decline was attributed to the shortages of chemical fertilizer and the fuel. But anyhow, on a positive note, services sector have witnessed some kind of an increase of 0.7%, so to report the said values of GDP for the first quarter of 2022. So meanwhile, the central bank has reported that the Sri Lanka's CCPI-based inflation level has picked up to 54.6% for the month ended June, which was only 39.1% during the month of May. And the price surge was basically attributed to both food and non-food inflation categories. Food inflation was reported a value of 80.1%, whereas non-food inflation reported a value of 42.4%. This was the official statistics, so majority in the idea that actual values, so the actual inflation is somewhat far away than these values. And the everyone was very keen to know what happened to International Monetary Fund staff visits to Sri Lanka. So as of their announcement, they have concluded visits to Sri Lanka, but they intend to continue the virtual discussions ahead to come up with the staff level agreement to give the extended fund facility to Sri Lanka in near term. So IMF in a statement said that they had constructive and productive discussions with the SL authorities in the path towards finalizing IMF bailout, and the major concerns of IMF was the design of comprehensive economic program to support or correct macroeconomic imbalances and to restore public debt sustainability and also to realize Sri Lanka's growth potential. So looking ahead, they have mentioned that they are working very closely to finalize the deal of IMF with Sri Lanka to give the right financial support at the economic crisis what the country is running with now. And looking at the international market front, commodity prices further declined, continuing the losses from the previous week. That was basically due to investors' worries regarding economic recession and also when it comes to especially the gold prices also headed for another weekly loss due to US Treasury yields and and as of course the hawkish policy stance of the Federal Reserve. So the same reason could have been witnessed in stock market as well. Investors worried about inflation fears to cause economic recession, but majority of the stock markets headed towards weekly gains despite the inflationary fears. And it was also reported that the 2-year treasuries are on course for their best week since markets pandemic meltdown on March 2020. So, yes, these were the major insights that I have to deliver from my end. Today, the technical analysis part will be conducted by Harin. Harin, over to you.
Thank you, Sachini, for the update. So let's look at gold, which is XAU USD for the week ending 1st July 2022. So the price of gold seems to be trading at the daily support level 1800, 1810. Looking at the RSI itself, we can see it's trading in the mid range. So we have a strong wick over here where the daily candle initially made a high of 1808.88, which actually opened at 1807.33 and managed to make a low of 1784.57. Still trading at 1804.58, which is actually quite near to the open price. So the price is trading at the daily support level and also considered as psychological area 1800, 1810. So over the past few weeks, what we can see is the price seems to be quite declining after making a certain highs about 1900, 2000, and the price seems to be quite getting rejected from over and over again, breaking one support and making a resistance over and over again. So the price is quite consolidating for the past few days in between the level of 1800 and 1870. And also it is in a declining momentum, whereas we can see with the bottom line up here, it is considered as a descending triangle formation. So in case this daily support breaks, we'll be able to expect the price moving towards the next daily support level, which is actually 1740, 1750. If the price manages to sustain over this key area of psychological area 1800, we'll be able to expect it testing the trend line again, and then further going up to the daily resistance 1860, 1870. The worst case scenario, if the price actually trades below 1800, then we'll be able to see the price actually getting further decline. Even the moving averages, of course, which I have added 18 and 80 EMAs, indicates a bearish momentum as the price is trading below both the EMA levels. So let's look at our all-share index. So looking at the all-share index, the RSI managed to close at 39.93 for the following week, and it is trading near the daily resistance of 7,450, 7,500, and for the following week, it managed to close at 7,457.48. So what we can clearly see is it is trading in a declining momentum. So we have higher lower low formation, lower high, lower low formation here, low high, lower low formation over here, another low low. So if the index manages to break the current low, structuring low that we have at 7,308.91, if it manages to break that current low, we'll be able to expect it moving further towards the downside. So we have the next psychological area, 7,000 key area, and we might be able to expect the index first to test the level of 7,152.36, as we have a low of on somewhat around in April 28. That low can be considered as another support level when it comes to a minor time frame like 4 hours or 1 hour, 4 hour or 1 hour. So what we can clearly see is it is trading in a descending formation over here. So the daily resistance is at 7,450, 7,500. In order to have a solid bullish momentum, the index needs to trade above the daily resistance on 1,450, 7,500 lead, and also crossing over 18 and 8 EMA levels, which would initially bring the index to the next daily resistance 7,950, 8,000, and yet 8,000 again considered as a psychological area. So more it sustains below the moving averages, we might be able to see more declining. The more it is above the moving averages, we might be able to see some sort of bullish momentum. So let's look at our top pick of the week, which is actually Bill. So looking at Bill, we from the daily chart, we have the RSI at 44.17. The RSI was and the price also managed to close at 7.7. The RSI is 44.17 for the weekend at 1st July 2022. So we have a falling wedge over here, which I have drawn. This is considered as falling wedge. And the daily resistance is at 8.3, 8.6 in between that. And the daily support level is taken as 6.777 and considered as a psychological area. So this falling wedge, if the price manages to break this from the top trend line that I have drawn, if it manages to break it, we'll be able to see it heading towards the daily resistance 8.3, 8.6, and further trading about 8.6, we might be able to see it moving towards the daily resistance 10, 10 being another psychological area. So those key levels could be tested only if the price manages to break the falling wedge and also the daily resistance 8.3, 8.6. So currently the price is trading below the 18 and 88 EMAs, exponential moving averages. And this indicates some sort of bearish momentum as well, since the price is trading below both the EMAs. Worst case scenario, what we can see here is what we can expect the price is to test the 8 and 18 moving averages, EMAs. And if it gets declined from both the moving averages, we might be able to see it coming down again towards the daily support level 6.77. And further, if it breaks the daily support 6.77, it could further go down to the next daily support, which is considered at 5.3. So if it manages to break the falling wedge and also the daily resistance, it would be a solid movement that we'll be able to expect the price heading towards the daily resistance 10, 10.3 for the next daily resistance. Thank you. I hope you'll have a wonderful weekend.